Horror story number 1.
This is a scary experience that I had when I used to work at Starbucks. I was an employee there several years ago and worked there for almost 2 years. This was towards the end of my time working there. One time I was working a closing shift. We closed at 8 p.m. every night, and generally I would stay for a few minutes after finishing tasks on this night. For the last few hours that we were open, I was working with one other coworker. Things were pretty quiet for most of the day. It was especially quiet. We had very few customers come in, and during the 7th hour, had nobody at our location. And it wasn't even that busy of an area, but a lot of people would still go there during the morning usually. Few people would come inside and work on their laptops or whatever throughout the afternoon and night. Not this time though, which I did not have a problem with. We were able to start cleaning and stuff a little bit early, and it became apparent that we probably wouldn't get any more customers for the rest of the night. At maybe 7:45 or so, I told my coworker that she could go home and I would finish up with everything. I knew she was in school and had a lot of homework to do, so she left, and then it was just me. At probably 7:55, I went into the back room. I was doing some of the normal tasks that I would do when we closed. I spent about 2 or 3 minutes in the area, and then I was going to go back out when we had a large swinging door with a small window in it that separated behind the counter from the back room area. As I was about to walk through, though, I just barely noticed something through the window that made me stop there. It appeared to be someone behind the counter. This was really strange. I hadn't heard anyone come inside or anything, and it wasn't my coworker. It was a man, and he was somewhat tall, or at least a lot taller than I am. At first, he looked like he was wearing a hat, but when he turned a little, I saw that it was a mask, a full ski mask, and he was near the cash register at that point. I realized that this guy was probably trying to rob us. I quickly moved back from the door and went farther into the back room. I felt like an idiot for not just locking the doors and closing early. He entered when I was in the back and didn't even notice as I walked farther back there. I suddenly heard footsteps walking towards the door where I was. We had a decent-sized back area, but there's still not a whole lot of space there. Mostly it was filled with various boxes of all sizes and extra supplies, such as ingredients and cups. The first thing that I thought to do was to find a large box in the back corner. Being the small female that I am, I jumped inside of it while trying not to make any noise. I'm barely 5 foot tall and fit inside just fine. Then I grabbed another large empty box on the shelves to me and covered myself with it. However, the man did not immediately enter the back room. I was expecting the door to open for the entire time I was getting in the box, but it didn't. I'm not sure what he did, but he remained on the other side of the door for a little while. I had my phone in my pocket still, luckily, and I took it out and called the police. Probably 30 seconds after I called, I heard the door to the back room open. I hung up all with the police prematurely as soon as I heard that I didn't want the guy to hear everything, even though I had been talking as quietly as I could. All that I had been able to say was the Starbucks location that I was at, and that I thought, and the operator was asking me a question when I hung up the phone. I hoped that the police quickly when the man entered the back room. He walked in and then stopped just moments later. I heard him walking closer to me. As he did, he mumbled a few things that I couldn't make out. My heart was crazy and I hoped that he wouldn't find me. Now, I was hidden pretty good, but it was still a terrifying situation to be in. He got within probably 10 feet of me and then turned and walked back a short time later. I heard the door behind counter open and close again. After that, I didn't hear a whole lot. I stayed hidden where I was and didn't dare leave. I texted some friends and family and was in the box for maybe 30 minutes. Then I heard some more noises coming from inside. Before long, I realized that it was the police. I found out that the guy had left before there. Unfortunately, I told them everything I could, and we went behind the counter for the cash register. He was wearing us the whole time, so it was impossible to tell his identity. He stole everything that was in the register and then left. After talking with us, I was finally able to go home. I found out later the man who robbed the store was caught. I didn't want to work any closer a while afterwards, though. I think I worked there for a month or 2 before I quit. Sometimes I wonder if I was watching the store from outside and saw me go into the back. I really have no idea, though. Either way, it's good timing that I wasn't back there when he entered. I wouldn't want to know what would have happened.
Horror story number 2.
I currently work at Starbucks, and I've been working there for a little over a year. This is something that took place last summer. It was a crazy experience, to say the least. It all happened one very busy morning. I had been working since we opened, but at this point it was probably a little bit AM. Lots of people were coming in and ordering. There were 5 of us working, trying to keep up. We were doing a pretty good job. I thought some people order line and pick it up or use things like DoorDash or Uber Eats. Between those and the people ordering in the store, there's several drinks on the counter. I remember seeing probably 5 drinks at least, or a couple of items that we sold, such as breakfast sandwiches. A few people were standing around waiting for their orders to be full. We didn't have a separate shelf for mobile line orders at the time, which we have since added, so every order that was done just got placed on the counter. I remember as I put a drink down on the counter, a guy walking in. He had longer hair and that looked unkempt. I turned around to keep me as we were very busy. A short time later, another order got added to the counter, and people had picked theirs up. I saw them was now standing nearby. Probably 5 later, I added another drink to the counter, which had about 6 or 7 things on it. Then I saw the man walk up at first. He had ordered something online and was picking it up. After the guy got right up to the counter, he took his arm, knocked everything over. He used his arm like a brush, and within seconds, every drink that was on there got knocked over and it was a mess, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Afterwards, the man took a step back and started laughing like a maniac. A bunch of people around him were giving him dirks. Somebody asked him why he did that. Other than that, the place quickly became dead silent. He just kept laughing as if it was the funniest thing ever. But I knew that I couldn't lose my temper. For reason, though, I took it upon myself to deal with it, probably because I was closest to them. I took a few steps over to the guy and at me. Before I said anything, the man said to me, "What are you going to do about it?" It was as if he was very proud of what he had done. I asked him to just leave. The guy said no. I thought that the guy must be crazy or something, so other people were telling him that he should leave, and he turned to them and started defending himself. I went back to help another order that was finishing up. Then we were going to try to think that needed to be remade. Probably about 30 seconds later, I heard the closer. I looked and then saw him being over the counter. I warned him and told him to stop. The man was now me and standing behind the counter where it was for ease only. I tried telling the man clearly he wasn't going to listen. Grabbed something off the shelf. It was a caramel or something, and then he threw it at me. It didn't really hurt. Afraid of what the man would do next. He's very unpredictable. Somebody wanted to call the police, and the man then He wasn't very big, and I was several taller than him. He ran into me with not a whole lot of force, knocked me over or anything. I put him up to stop him, and then he fell over, crashed into the counter behind us, and I remembered when he was on the ground. He then yelled at me that he was going to for assaulting him. A lot leaving the building, and nobody was trying anymore. When the man stood back, I pleaded with him to leave. He refused to charge at me again. I by his arms and tried to force him to leave. I walked with him out and around I heard one of my coworkers say the police were on their way. Buddy who was inside the restaurant left, and as I finally made it out from the counter, the man broke free from me. Obviously, I wasn't going to tackle him or anything. He went to a table and stood behind it. My coworkers left the building.